I already know it takes a while for everybody to get in here. Hope you hear me. If you can't, all right, it is what it is. And if you can, cool. Uh, First of all, I want to say, man, I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Uh, Appreciate you guys continuing to support the channel, support the network, all the different shows that we have on here. So, thanks y'all. Also, happy belated Founders Day, Kappa Psi National Honor Band Fraternity Incorporated. 104 years service. So, yeah. What up, bro? With that being said, a couple of things on my mind, a couple of things I want to say. That you know, I just felt the need to just pop the mic and say that's been on my mind. So, bear with me real quick as I go ahead and get through this. It, you know, I had a good talk with Quan yesterday. What's going on, Call King? Cali King. My bad. But I had a good talk yesterday with my guy, Quan, and he actually brought something to my attention that we have not done probably since the first year that we started Talk That Talk. And so we're actually going to be doing that coming up soon. So I'll talk about that in a second. But the reason why I go ahead and pop the camera is because I had my show yesterday, the Luke's Band Report. And like I tell you, man, first of all, I appreciate everybody's comments, man. I read them all. And I like a lot of the comments, man. I really like to hear people's views and opinions. And those opinions that are not necessarily, in line with mine. And that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. What throws me off sometimes is the fact that some people kind of judge, I guess you would say, my character, in the sense that if you know me, you know that I love, not only just, being chocolate and being black, you know what I'm saying, but I also love what we do as HBCUs and the culture that surrounds that. I grew up in it. I marched in it, but one of the things that I've really come to realize, and this is not specifically just to band, but also just as a people, we don't like to be told that our stuff don't stink. And I think that's the biggest problem that I have witnessed in these last couple of years of having this space and all that kind of stuff, right? What's going on, Malik? What's going on, Lauren? You still going, Lauren? You got that for me though? You tagged me to it, so if you're gonna get it for me, that's what's up. But yeah, man, us as a people, we don't like to be told that our stuff doesn't stink. I saw a post yesterday that I really stand by. Me being a fan or a supporter of somebody does not mean that they are above criticism, right? Here's a very good point that I mean by this. I marched in the Legion. I love the Legion. 2X, by the way. I marched in the Legion. I love the Legion. I do. Every experience that I had with the Legion wasn't always great, but I mean, I would think that would be with any program that you march in, right? With that being said, I'm also very open to the fact that the Legion is not always good. I am the first. I openly admitted that when they played Tennessee State, I didn't think that in the stands they would be successful. Now it just turns out that they were, and when they were, congratulations. But the biggest problem that I have is because if I say that something does not sound good or something could be better, people tend to think that I can care less about HBCUs. No, no, and no. It just wasn't good. And one thing that I want everybody to know, I am very careful with my words. And I'm careful with my words because of the fact that I am an educator. I've sat in a seat, I've sat in the director's seat before, and so I know what it feels like. And I know what it feels like to have a lot of criticism on you, right? With that being said, you will never hear me say a band is trash, or students are trash, or someone did terrible. Now, typically what you will hear is you would probably hear me say it wasn't good, it didn't sound good, it could be better, and here's the ways that I think that it could have been better. Or here's the ways that I thought it was not good. I'm always going to give my opinion and or criticism, but I'm also going to try to make sure that I provide some way or some information that backs up or substantiates my point other than the fact that it just wasn't loud. Now, with that being said, when we go to talk back about the Bayou Classic, at what point did I say either band sounded bad? I don't even think that ever happened. As a matter of fact, what I did say is that the masses said that it was boring. And I said that both bands did exactly what both bands do. They didn't step outside of anything that they did. However, I feel it's funny because some people take it as, well, you just don't like band, like our bands or whatever. No, 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 no. If I didn't, I wouldn't watch. If I didn't, I wouldn't go to them. If I didn't, I wouldn't even be talking about them. The thing about it is, there's nothing wrong with saying that our favorite bands' didn't do good. But I also say that I'm open to the fact that I could be wrong. And that is very true. Shout out to Brother Moore. Brother Moore got on and he was like, yo, I was there, and what you saw from the video perspective, I didn't see. I actually saw something different, which in that case, I also said, well, man, I appreciate that, because again, I'm open to the fact that because I wasn't there, I don't always have the full spectrum of what it felt like in that room. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's true too, Rod. But see, I think that's trash. That is trash. Not a band is trash. Just the concept is trash. And I feel like that concept is trash because good is good and bad is bad. And I think that because we be like, well, I marched in the SEAC, well, I marched in the CIAA, well, I marched in the MEAC, well, I marched in the SWAC, that we can't decipher whether good is good and bad is bad. And I think that's where we all miss that point. I definitely agree with the idea that a concert F is a concert F at the end of the day. And for some reason, we tend to think that because our favorite band plays a concert F and it sounds like an F sharp, that because someone says that's not a concert F, that we are hating, or we don't like HBCU bands, or we don't understand the culture. No, we understand the culture. But again, good is good and bad is bad. And that's just what it is. The truth of the matter is, our favorite bands are not going to always be great on every performance. And again, it's okay to be able to admit that some of us have just drank too much of the Kool-Aid. We done shot it up in our veins and we keep on shooting it. And I think that's the biggest problem. We didn't sip too much of that Kool-Aid and we think that our stuff don't stink. Yeah, it does. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to admit that you had a bad performance. It's okay to admit that you had a good performance. It's okay to admit that sometimes some things in the culture just ain't great. And that's okay too. And I think that that is the problem. The problem is that we, and now I'm not even talking about band now, I'm just talking about we as a people. We as a people tend to embrace the worst things about us, and then we glorify that like it's right. And when somebody calls it out and says, well, that ain't necessarily right, then we want to try to tell them that they're not a part of us, or they're not a part of the people, or they're out of touch. No, that's not necessarily true. So, with all that being said, again, me and Quan had a great conversation. I see what you said, Lauren. Yeah, you are putting names out there. Yeah, yeah, stuff happens, man. But with that being said, like I said, me and Quan had a great conversation last night, and we are going to have a viewer's choice episode of Talk That Talk. Now, it's not going to be this week. This week, we are definitely talking about who takes the accountability, directors or the students. That's definitely going to be the conversation, and that's going to be spearheaded based on the video that was released from Southern University inside the band room. We're going to have a really good conversation about that. But we're going to have a viewer's choice episode. And that viewer's choice episode is we are going to allow everybody who is a part of the network, who is subscribed to the network, who watches us and follows us. Again, I appreciate everybody who watches. I appreciate everybody who follows, so on and so forth. But that's going to give you the opportunity to go through and scour through all of the stuff that we have done. Pick out your thing, or the thing that was said, or the comment that was said, and bring it to us. And we are going to actually talk about it. We're going to have a conversation about it. And if you feel the need to defend your point, then defend your point. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. What I am going to have a problem with is when we start getting in our feelings. Right? I don't got time for that part about it. Like, you can have a conversation with me, and we can converse, and even we can be passionate about it, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that either. But what I do have a problem with is when we start stepping outside of ourselves and talking about a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't even matter. When you start asking me, well, where did you march? I don't know if that has, to me, that doesn't have much bearing on the fact of if it's good, it's good, and if it's bad, it's bad. Now, it's different if I didn't march anywhere. Now, that's a completely different conversation, right? But first of all, if you're watching this channel, if you've been on this channel before, everybody who I've had on this channel has a background of somebody's university band program. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is knowing that, also knowing that I'm an educator. I don't need for you to ask me where I march from. Just be able to come and pull your facts and your data and be able to stand on your square and have the conversation. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if I'm right, I'm right. And if we agree to disagree, that's cool too. But don't start getting on all that personal stuff. Yeah, you may have sucked. No, first of all, if anybody knows me, I was not a trash player on the horn. But secondly, if you know me, I'm also probably one of the coolest people that you ever meet, because I'm always going to be one of those kind of people who hear what you got to say, and I'm going to try to provide as much insight that I know and that I have to be able to get to a point or to get to some kind of common ground. Again, anybody who knows me, that's just kind of how I am. I'm not just kind of one of the people who just going to argue every day. But again, we're going to have a viewer's choice episode. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put a post up, and it's going to allow you to go to a link that you can put whatever episode of whatever it was, and then give me the timestamp. And that way I'll know to pull it up on that show. But you got to be available to have the conversation. So again, it's going to be all of our Talk That Talk happens Wednesday, 7:30 Central Standard Time. We go live, obviously. And so we're going to have that episode again. It's not going to be upcoming. Well, excuse me. It's not going to be the episode tomorrow, but I'll put the date up with the information or the link or whatever. So that way you can get in, so that way you can put your information out there and you can get in, and that way we can go ahead and set all that stuff up. So I'm giving everybody the opportunity to be able to just have a conversation, bro. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I actually like conversing because I think those conversations is what builds a middle ground or builds an understanding between multiple parties. A lot of the conversations that I've had in the past helped me to understand about mass band, because at first I was just anti mass band 100%. And now I've come to understand that it's a thing that's there, and it's going to happen, and it's not going anywhere. And I respect it as that. But when I listen to it, do I still have my thoughts about it? Absolutely. Will I be able to say that this sounded good versus this sounded bad? Yes, absolutely. But I'm not going around saying it's trash. I'm not going around saying that it's a horrible concept, but I am going around saying that while this thing is created, there are ways that you can make it better, and that's okay too. Rod said anything. Another thing I've noticed is people talking trash about programs with different styles. In my opinion, you can't call yourself a bandhead if you like one specific style or one band. Honestly, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but here's the thing: everybody now has a different interpretation of what a bandhead is, and I think that because there is no true understanding or definition of what a bandhead is, it's very hard to decipher the rules and regulations as to what a bandhead should be. And so I think that's where the one of the biggest issues is. In my personal opinion, a bandhead is somebody who's actually marched. If you don't have any skin in the game, then that means that you're not a bandhead. You're just somebody who just likes band, and that's cool too. But you're not a band head. So that's just my personal opinion. So again, I think that just comes down to the definition of what a band head is, and everybody has a different view of that. Every arrangement ain't fire, absolutely. But here's the other part about that: there are some fire arrangement that just have poor teachers behind it. Some people write really good arrangements that can't teach their arrangements. One of the things, and I'm not saying I can't teach, I'm not saying that at all. But one of the things that I enjoyed being at PV during the time that I was there was that I knew that if I wrote an arrangement and Rick taught my arrangement, that it was going to be interpreted the way that the way that I wanted it to be interpreted. You know, and then again, well, yeah, every arrangement ain't fire. I will say that, but again, I think that there are some great arrangements out there that just are executed poorly, and could be done better. And I think that that goes with how you teach said arrangement. And just because it sounds great on finale, and you're using great sounds and so on and so forth, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate in the band program that you have. And shout out to the smaller bands, man. I gotta say that, man. Shout out to the smaller bands, Fort Valley, FMU, Skigi, Central, like all of these smaller bands, man, that are knocking out really good arrangements, and are now making sure that their arrangements fit their programs, and having great teachers behind those arrangements. Shout out to y'all, man, because there are some, and I'm not saying that, I'm not naming anybody specific, but there are some smaller programs that try to do arrangements that are really for bigger programs that don't necessarily fit for their smaller programs, and it doesn't translate well. Talking about the fans that say that. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Fans do say that. That's a whole nother conversation, as far as fans and all that kind of stuff, because some people have, again, that's a no skin in the game kind of thing. You ain't never played a horn, and if you did, it was sixth grade band, and you quit, but you just like band. Like, that's just kind of odd to me. But then you can have all these things to be able to say and state about what band should be. Again, that's just very odd to me. But yeah, so yeah, we're gonna have a interpretation, execution is everything, and it's the real version of the ensemble sound. I would like to take an arrangement and send it to all the bands to hear the difference. You're saying that, and I wanted to do that. As a matter of fact, we used to talk about that. I think it was either in undergrad or when we were at PV. And what I mean by that is, we used to say, I wonder what it would be like if for a game, Yeah, it was when we were at PV. We used to say, I wonder what it would be like for a game if PV and Southern switched arrangements. Like if we completely switched books, what would be the outcome of that? Would PV execute Southern's arrangements in the same way that Southern executes their arrangements, or would Southern execute their arrangements in the same way that PV executes their arrangements? So it was always something on my mind. So I think that would be a very good experiment. Take one arrangement and shop them around every. That should be part of a battle, bro. Every in the battle, you do a two way or a three-way or a four-way battle, and everybody gets the same arrangements. And in those same arrangements, let's see who was the better program with interpreting those arrangements. That's dope. Now, see, that's dope. Now, that's something that should be in somebody's battle. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've always had that thought process, man. BCU change books with Southern. Yeah, that would be dope. That would be dope. To see how Bethune would interpret Southern's arrangements and how Southern would interpret Bethune's arrangements. Man, somebody, man, shoot, don't have me call my people up. I'll start putting that thought process together. 'Cause, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. But yeah, uh, viewers choice episode of Talk That Talk coming up, man. Remember, man, anybody who watches me or anybody who watches this channel, we are not haters of what we do. We love what we do. Not as just members of people from HBCUs, but also people who just enjoy the craft and enjoy music education in general. Remember that, man. Just because you love your favorite band's favorite band, that doesn't mean that they're always going to be correct. They're always going to be right, and it's okay. That doesn't make you, or that doesn't make them any less. But again, that also goes with what I always argue with anyway, which is adjudication. I am going to be a firm believer on adjudication for HBCUs, because that is the only way that you are going to be. That's to me, that's the most definitive way that you're going to be able to justify someone being the best band in the land. The hardest thing about that is people with egos don't want to give up that top spot. If the masses are saying, I got the best band out there, but your scores may say something different, people don't want to be able to, account for that and accept that reality. And so it is what it is. I always like the comparisons on songs for that reason. But yeah, man, look for the date. Every time I'm about to be closed out, so y'all say something that gets me thinking again. But depending on the judge, one of the biggest things that I've been realizing, man, is that we as a people come up with reasons to not try something. We talk ourselves out of advancing forward. So I say that to say, when when high school bands, for the most part, when high school bands go to adjudication, they don't ever say it depends on the judge. They go because they have to go, and they go because for the most of them, they know that the information that they're going to receive are going to make them better on the back end, right? They don't say depending on the judge. The problem with us is that we refuse to do it because we always say depending on the judge. There are some people out there who are just going to be biased, and we understand that. But there are some judges who judge secondary schools and so on and so forth that are biased too. But that doesn't stop them from doing it. That doesn't stop your local high school to continuing to enter battle of the bands. It just doesn't. And I think that's one of the things that continues to hold us back, is the fact that we always want to try to say, well, who's the judge? It's like when we used to go to the club and you be like, all right, who gonna be there? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I ain't going in. But then you end up finding out that the club was hot that night. You know what I'm saying? So I think that sometimes we need to stop giving those reasons and saying, all right, let's try this for a 2 to 3 year span or a 4 year span. And then we can collect data on that and see, was it beneficial? We run from it instead of jumping towards it. And I think, and even in business, that's when people have businesses, that's really one of the biggest reasons why businesses fail, because they're more passive than they are aggressive. And sometimes in a business, you got to be aggressive in order to be successful. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that we fail at, is that we keep finding reasons not to progress and move forward. So yeah, I think adjudication would help. I think that, yes, judges, we got to find good judges, but I mean, we can't see that every judge is perfect. There's no way to be able to see what somebody's inner motives are. So with that being said, yeah, I know, Dyson, because I am too. That's why I know. But yeah, man, we have no way of knowing what somebody's inner motives are. I think that the best way to do it is just going out there and doing it, and having something tangible to say, all right, we gave this a 5-year period. All right, what were the pros? What were the cons? How could we make it better? So on and so forth. And so I think that would be the best source. Should they be judged versus arrangements as written, or should have? See, now y'all getting into that. I'm not gonna get into that. I'll talk about that on another time. You know, because I can talk about that little piece all day, bro. So yeah, that could be a whole. I mean, that could be a conversation, but that shouldn't be a conversation we run from. And I think we spend more time running from that conversation than we do actually taking that head on and then moving towards it. Most people be like, "Well, I ain't doing it because I don't know who the judges are gonna be." I wouldn't do that because I don't know who the judges are gonna be. And that's just kind of how we leave it. I think that the best way to do it is just by saying, you know what, let's do it. Let's all come together. Let's go in the room. Let's have the conversation, and let's see what is the best course of action for the first 3 to 4 year span, 5 year span, and actually really plan it out, and move forward. So yeah, that ESPN thing. And again, we're gonna have another episode of Blow the Whistle. So just stay tuned for that. But that ESPN thing, the thing that I disagree with as far as that, and I know that we typically leave our comments about that on Blow the Whistle, but I'm gonna say this about it, and I don't care. You can send this to the ESPN people. I really don't care. The thing about it is the fact that, one, it leaves a sour taste in people's mouths about adjudication for HBCUs because the whole process seems disingenuous, right? This is the first time that we were able to have something that was going to be for us, that was going to be quote unquote judged, right? And tangible, but we don't see the tangibles. We don't see the score breakdown. We don't see where these thought processes are coming from. If we had if we were able, and I said this on Blow the Whistle, if we had a recap where we were able to see where these things lined up, where these numbers were coming from, who was the judge, so on and so forth, then we would be a little bit more comfortable, because we have to stand on documentation. And that's just what it is. The problem is that we don't see any of that. You just put out a bunch of stuff with some stuff that makes absolutely no sense. Again, it doesn't make sense that I think Jackson State one ranking was like number 6 or 7 in drum majors. Where? Where? In the world? And Bethune wasn't even on it, if I remember correctly. So one, they leave a sour taste in people's mouths about being judged for HBCUs. I'm not gonna get to two. I'm not gonna get to two because that's more of a personal thing. And when I say personal thing, more of a behind the scenes thing that we talk about as a company. And so I'm gonna leave that one behind closed doors. But it definitely leaves a sour taste in people's mouths about being judged for HBCUs, because of the fact that there are a lot of levels that we and multiple people have felt like it was judged unfairly, and very disingenuous in the way that they have approached it. So yeah, but yeah, man. With that being said, I'm gonna try to close this thing out because y'all gonna keep coming up with stuff, and I'm gonna keep on responding. Because hey man, I like to have the conversations, man. I really do, and that's why I say I look at all the comments all the time, and I appreciate everybody's comments on every single video that we do. Crystal's videos, or Crystal shows, Talk That Talk, my show, Blow the Whistle. Like, I'm looking at all of those things because I appreciate the conversation. I like to hear people's opinions, but again. I am not one who is against the culture. I am not one who is about bashing anybody. I am not one who is trying to talk down or make our programs look bad. If anything, I want better for all of us, every single one of us, the smaller band programs and the larger band programs. And so, with that being said, again, we are going to have a viewer's choice. I'm gonna put the link here. I'm also throw the link in the Instagram at Real Talk That Talk. So I'll throw the link over there too. You can go ahead and click on it. It'll open up. You can tell you put what video it is, put the timestamp, and then just make sure you're available on that date, man. So we can come in and we can talk about it, man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all you guys continue to support me, support us, support the channel, rocking with us, man. You guys are dope. You are continuing to move the culture forward, move music education forward, and I appreciate every single one of y'all. That being said, man, y'all have a great day. I'm not answering any more responses, Rod. I see another one down there. I ain't doing it though. But man, y'all have a great day. Y'all be blessed, man.